Good morning. So good to see everyone here. We have a wonderful number this morning. We do have some visitors with us, and we're grateful for your presence. We hope and pray that we'll do you nothing but good this morning as we come to worship God and to honor Him in everything that we do. I have a preacher friend that he sends something out every Sunday morning, and just gives me just a little something, and I read it. And this morning he sent this out. He said, I wonder if the birds were singing the morning when Jesus rose from the dead. He said, like they are here this morning. And he lives in another state, but it must have been something like our beautiful morning that we have this morning. Beautiful morning, and the birds are definitely singing, aren't they? What I want to talk to you about this morning, last Sunday morning, just to kind of give us a little remembrance, we talked about just in general, keys to a successful life. And we said in doing that we've got to take inventory of ourselves. We've got to examine ourselves. Remember we talked about that, 2 Corinthians 13 and verse 5. Examine yourselves, make sure you're going in the right way, right, in the right direction. And we all have to make course corrections throughout our life, don't we? We always are continually having to examine ourselves, see what's going on, and we got to go to the right source when we do that, right? We can examine ourselves, and if we're not, if we don't go back to the Bible, back to His testimonies, we may make the wrong correction, okay, course correction. We may turn the wrong direction. And so we got to go to the right source in doing that. And once we realize we've made a mistake, we've got to make some changes, we've got to respond immediately, right? We've got to obey, right? Listen to God's word, obey Him completely, and do the will of God. And so that was our lesson last week. And so what I want us to do is this morning, I want us to take one area, okay, a little small area, and there's many, many, many areas, right, that we need to examine ourselves in. And I want to take a small area of that and examine ourselves. And you do that for you, I'm doing that for me. And let's see if we need to make some corrections. We need to make some changes in our lives. And that's going to be found from our reading that Lincoln led us in this morning, Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 16 beginning. It says, there are 6 things the Lord hates. Yes, 7 are an abomination to Him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among brethren. Now, we don't have time to go through all those this morning, but I want us to pick one of those and let's examine ourselves in that. And the one we're going to look at is the second one on the list there of the things that the Lord hates, a lying tongue. A lying tongue. I want us to look at that. There are many proverbs, and we'll look at some later on, that talk about the idea of the tongue, right, or lying or things. Just a couple of them. Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 19. The lips of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Proverbs 12:22. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord. That's kind of the same thing we just read in Proverbs 6, right? They're an abomination to the Lord. He detests those things, lying lips. But they that deal truly are His delight. They that deal truly are His delight. Now, someone may say, well, everybody does it, right? We have cartoons about it, right? When I saw this, I just had to, what I thought about? If everyone's nose got bigger with every lie that they told, I'm wondering if any of us would be able to get into this building this morning. We might have, and I'd have been, what would have happened? But we see Pinocchio and all the things, and it's all funny little cartoon and all those things. But it's something to think about. Every one of us need to examine ourselves, because Christians, okay, should not be involved in this. This is something that we know better, and we're taught. We're all taught that, lying is wrong, right? We shouldn't do these things. This is a recent Gallup poll, or a poll from this BrandonGale.com. Listen to this. Most people lie an average of 4 times a day, which equates to 1,460 lies every year. A man can lie twice as much as a woman in a single day. I thought that was interesting, because they always say that men only speak half as much as women, right? Women speak twice as many words in a day. But yet men can lie twice as much. So if we spoke as much as women, we'd be speaking 4 times. We'd be lying 4 times as much. It's funny, but it's not, right? The number one reason for lying is to get out of trouble or make ourselves look good. Isn't that right? When your child, they learn early. I don't know how they learn it. It's amazing, right? But when your child, it doesn't take them long. Maybe they break something in the house, and then you confront them with it. Well, did you do this? No, it wasn't me. Or they start pointing at the brother or the sister or whatever, or the dog or whatever it was. What are they doing that? Why are they doing that? Because they don't want to get in trouble, right? They think, I get out of trouble, I can do this. The problem of lying. Another poll, not that we need more things to think about in there, but the day America told the truth. 91% of those surveyed stated that they lie routinely about matters they consider trivial. They lie routinely. 91% admitted it. And the other ones were lying about it. Okay, all right. But anyway, 36% lie about important matters. 86% of the children said they lie to their parents. 75% said they lie to their friends. 73% said they lie to their siblings. 69% said they lie to their spouses. It's no wonder David said in Psalm 116 and verse 11, all men are liars. All men are liars. Do we want to live in a society wherein lying is so prevalent? How many people like it when someone lies to them? There's not a person in here, right? I've heard many people say, I don't mind anything as long as you don't lie to me about something. If you lie to me about something, buddy, it's over. And yet we say that just about everybody lies about things. Even, like I said, in the realm of religion, it's not exempt from this plague. The Reformer, this is a quote out of the Reformer. We need to teach our children to lie judicially and mercifully, but never maliciously. I've often, in business, right, at work or whatever, and everyone has, you're working or whatever, it's real easy, isn't it? It's real easy to lie about certain things to get the advantage on whatever it is. If you're with the customers or whatever, it's real easy. I told Ben many years ago, we've been working together now, 2 different jobs for a long time. And it's wonderful to have him around all the time. We bounce things off of each other all the time. We're talking about things. And I told him, a long time, I said, I can't go into sales. Can't go into sales. At least for the companies that I've worked for. Now, there may be some sales you're able to do it. But I'm telling you, man, those guys, they'll say something about our product, and I'm just like, they don't make no qualms about it. They'll just, it's just because they can get a sale. They get the sale. That's all that matters, is just getting the sale, whatever it takes to get the sale. It always tears me up when someone says something to me. Well, if I'm being honest with you, and then they start talking. Or, let me speak truthfully with you. And I want to say, well, that means everything else you just said wasn't the truth? You weren't telling me, you weren't being honest with me a while ago when you were talking to me? You got to be careful, right? We got to watch our words, how we use our words. Remember the old psalm, be careful, little mouth, what you say? Boy, that's a children's song, but boy, that's one for adults if we ever need it. We must be careful what we say. You think about things lying. There's a lot of things. We use a lot of words and a lot of different words for lying. And euphemisms sometimes, right? We'll change some things, or there are different ways you can lie. Let's think about some of these words. Someone says, well, you're twisting words, or let me twist this around for you. Let me do this, and we talk about twisting words like it doesn't sound as bad, right? It doesn't sound as bad as lying. He's not lying, he's just twisting the words a little bit. Or, that's an exaggeration of something, right? And you've got to be careful. We've got to be careful, and I've been guilty of this in the past. I've been guilty of going fishing, catching a fish, right? And that fish was probably about a pound and a half. And after the third or fourth time I told it was about a 4.5 pound bass, it was real like this. And sometimes it's like this. And, that's just, old fisherman story or whatever, and that's an exaggeration. We got to be careful. What are we doing? We're trying to make ourselves look good, right? That we're, or I killed this deer, and the antlers on it, are like this, but it's really like this, or, we're trying to, and so we've got to be careful. You ever heard this half-truth? Well, that's a half-truth. Okay, well, that's a lie. And half-truth is a lie. It's only half the truth. That means half of it is not the truth, okay? Insinuation, misstatement of fact. Well, that's a good one right there. A misstatement of fact. We hear that a lot in the news, right? Well, that was a misinformation or a misstatement of fact. It's a lie. Okay, it's a lie. Flattery. When you're flattering someone, okay, you're telling them something that you're trying to get on their good side, right? In other words, you don't really mean it, what you're saying. You're just wanting them to like you. Be careful. Now, you can compliment someone if you really mean it, right? There's a difference, right? But you understand flat. We all understand. We all know this. You can lie sometimes without saying a word. Your children do it to you. Small children, right? Did you do that? They didn't say a word. But their bodily movement told you no, and you know they did it, right? So, okay, it's a lie. And guess what? When we're adults, we may do the same thing. Well, did this really fail? You're at work, say, did this test fail? And maybe walk away from it, or, okay, let's look on something else, because you don't want to say it. You don't want to say this, or we've got to be careful. Presuming, a falsehood. We want to say a falsehood, or say, oh, that was a whopper, right? And we kind of laugh about, oh, that was a whopper there. Look at some of these other words. Duplicity. A fabrication. Well, that's just a nice way of saying it's not true. It was made up. Evasion. Stringing someone along. You ever said that? Well, he's just stringing them along, you know. In other words, he's just lying to him. He's not telling them the truth. He's just stringing him along. And inaccuracy. Fudging the numbers. And I didn't put this one on there. I should have put it there. We talk about it works of massaging the numbers. We're going to massage the numbers a little bit, you know, and see how this. Rationalization. We had a whole project at work called rationalization. Now, the whole project wasn't about lying, but it, you know, the point is, you know, you can see how you can put up fancy words to try to manipulate things if you're not careful. Gossip. Quotation. Of course, dishonesty. Deception. He's deceiving you. Deceptions. Misrepresentation. Putting someone on. Putting up a front. You ever done that? Maybe you wasn't feeling good and someone asked you, how you feeling? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. You know, okay, you're putting up a front. There's nothing wrong with saying, yeah, I'm not feeling very good today. I'm hurting a little bit. You mind praying for me? Helping me out? Help me out a little bit. Fibbing. We use that word, right? Well, they're fibbing. All these words. You think about a lot of these words, they're just common words. We use them all day long, and we're not careful. We're just following along with the world and just doing whatever and saying whatever. Whatever will help us. Sometimes it happens, we see it out in the world. It's easy to see it out in the world, isn't it? But sometimes we get caught up in it. And so we must examine ourselves. We must say, you know what, can't do this. I was reading about a preacher, and he announced the Sunday before. He said, everyone, he goes, I'm going to speak next week on the subject of lying. And so in preparation for that, you would go home this week, and I want you to read Mark chapter 17, and then be ready next week. The next Sunday morning, he gets up there and says, okay, how many read Mark chapter 17 in preparation for this? He said, just about everybody raised their hand. He said, well, Mark only has 16 chapters in it. I guess we'll start my lesson now online. It's just easy, isn't it? It's easy just to, and it can happen anytime, anywhere. We must constantly examine ourselves and be ready. Why is lying so wrong? Right? That's the question, right? It says, it can be us innocent. That's a little lie, a little white lie, right? That's not a big one or nothing. It's just a little something. It's not a, we don't want to hurt someone's feelings, so I don't say this or that and that, and this. Why is it so wrong? Well, first of all, it's contrary to the very nature of God. Okay, remember, we're Christians. And we're trying to be like God. We want to be like Him. We are trying to do everything. And so it goes against the very nature of God. In Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 18, it says, God did this so that by two unchangeable things in which it is impossible for God to lie. It is impossible for God to lie. So if He can't do it, okay, it's going against His nature. Titus chapter 1 and verse 2 tells us the exact same thing. It is impossible for God to lie. Okay, God is light. In Him is truth. There is no darkness. There is no lying. There is nothing with God. And so we as Christians then, we want to stay away from it too. And that's why when we read Proverbs chapter 6, God says, man, I hate this. I hate lying. He detests it. I want you to go back to the Garden of Eden. First time you hear about the devil, Satan, the serpent, what did he do? He lied. He lied. He did the exact opposite of what God did. That's why God hates it. It brought sin in the world. Lying. Here's one that we all know this, and so I don't have to show anything. I got a verse there, Job chapter 27 and verse 5. And Job there is, he's making his case because they're saying, oh, you're lying, Job, right? You must have done something wrong. You sinned. That's why you're hurting. That's why you're going through all this suffering. And he makes his claim. He says, no, I'm not. He realizes because if he's lying, he's going to lose his credibility. What happens when someone lies to you and you catch them in it? You ready to trust them? You ready to hand over $10,000 to them? It's, oh yeah, take this, do whatever you want to do with it. I trust you. You don't trust them, do you? Someone lies to you. It takes a while to build that trust back up. You think about that. You think about that next time before you start lying to someone. If someone catches you in a lie, you're going to lose all credibility. They will not be able to trust you anymore. God wants to trust us. We shouldn't lie about things. We'll say, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to do that. You speak the truth, but you speak it in love. There's a right way to say things and a wrong way to say things. Be careful. But we're to speak the truth in love. Even when it hurts, brethren. The next thing is that why lying is so wrong is because it's being like the father of all lies. And we've already talked about him some. Okay, the devil. But look at John chapter 8 and verse 44. Jesus said, you belong to your father the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. I want you to think about that. When you lie, you're acting like the devil. You're acting like the devil. He's the father of all lies. First words that came out of his mouth, Garden of Eden was a lie. Brethren, that's why lying is so wrong. It's the exact opposite nature of God. It destroys our credibility with God, with other people, and it's like being like the father of all lies. And brethren, guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen to all liars? In the book of Revelation, chapter 21, and verse 8. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters. Well, you read all those things and say, man, I don't want to be with that group, do you? I don't want to be in that. And the last part of that says, and all liars. And all liars. So it says, it's not a big deal. Man, it's not a problem, right? It's just like old Pinocchio there. It's a little joke, and it's funny, and all these things. And yet God says, no, it's not. It goes against my very nature. It's going to destroy your credibility, and you're being like the devil. And all liars will have their part in the lake that burns with fire. I'm going to tell you something, brethren. I'm not going to tell you all the details because you don't need to know all the details. But a few weeks ago, I had a dream, and it reminded me That dream reminded me of something that happened over 30 years ago in my life that I was dishonest about. And I had not made it right. And I woke up and I was scared to death. And I went and made it right. Fortunately, I was able to find the person that I'd worked for those many years ago. He still lived in the same spot. And I was able to make it right. But it had become, at the time, it had just become a nature to me, okay, of lying or being dishonest or doing whatever, and then I just forgot about it. And then I just thought, okay, you know, after a while, it was just okay. But it's not. And if you find yourself in a situation where you've said things or done things that were dishonest and were wrong, you need to do it and make it right. If you're still breathing, you got time to make it right. Okay? God will forgive us. But don't go through the rest of your life and just let it go. Because it says all liars will have their part that burns in the lake of fire. God's wisdom in Proverbs. Many Proverbs. By the way, guys, the book of Proverbs is a wonderful book. You need to be in that every day. Okay, and I know Brother Wayne's talked about it. We've talked about this in the past. Whatever day of the month it is, find that chapter in Proverbs and just read through it real quick. It'll help you. You pick out one proverb a day, it'll help you. Okay, there are many proverbs that talk about the tongue. Okay, and about lying, about telling the truth. God's wisdom in Proverbs, wonderful things. A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise use knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. That's 15. Chapter 29, a fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it till afterwards. It's going to give you wisdom on when to speak and when not to speak. Lying lips are an abomination. We already looked at that one. To the Lord. Righteous lips are the delight of kings. The mouth of a righteous man is a well of life. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pictures of silver. Wonderful things to help us, brethren. We all need motivation, don't we? We all need help each day, encouragement. Someone says, well, you know, you can get motivated by something. Motivation doesn't last. Well, let me tell you something, brethren. That's right. Motivation doesn't last. You can be motivated one day and it won't last. But guess what? Taking a bath doesn't last either, does it? That's why I recommend it every day. Take one every day. Get motivated every day. That's what we all need. Okay? So we all have got to be motivated to speak the truth. Do what is right. You know why, brethren? Because words mean things. You want to be religious? Those who consider themselves religious and yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongues deceive themselves, and their religion is worthless, useless. You're going to keep telling lies? You're going to keep being dishonest? You're going to keep just letting your mouth fly open and say whatever you want to say and do whatever you want to do? Then he says, guess what? You're not doing you any good. Religion's not going to do you any good. Let's examine ourselves, brethren. Think about these things. God wants us to have a successful life. He wants us to live for Him and do the right things. Examine yourselves. Go to the right source, which is right here. And when you see it, when you see what you need to do, you make the change. Make it today. And then do the will of God, and you live for God each day. We all make mistakes. We all do things we shouldn't do and say things we shouldn't say. Speak the truth in love. Turn to God. He loves you. He helps you. He wants to forgive you. I thank you for your attention this morning. We're about to sing the song, Trust and Obey. Can't say it any better than that, right? Trust in God and obeying. We can help you in any way this morning. We urge you and beg you to come. while we stand and sing.